it's Mirade, or that African butterfly.
And it's your girl AP at APY Blog.
And welcome to another episode of More Than My Size, where Alicia and I get together and just talk about life. So, Alicia, I'm going to let you talk about today's topic because you want to talk about today's topic.
I do. In fact, I do. About it. So I've been thinking a lot about people and our comfort or discomfort with being in front of the camera. It's so funny, right before this, you mentioned about the inverted like filter being used on TikTok and people like freaking out because when they're looking at selfie mode, it's like they see themselves a certain way, but when you flip it, it's how other people see you. And it's resulted in a lot of people feeling like, oh, this isn't my angle. Like I got to turn my head this way, that way. And there's been a few challenges where it's like, turn to the side and do A, B, and C. And some people are not necessarily comfortable with their side profile. There was a challenge where it was like, turn to the side and see if you have perfect symmetry, such and such, whatever. And as it turns out, like, there's a few people who did not have perfect symmetry, but also like this thing where like white folks are like, I'm beginning to think that African standards, like the side profile is like the standard of beauty because from the side, it just looks really gorgeous, honestly. So it just got me to thinking about angles and how we feel and how we photograph. And then there was like a challenge where it was like, put your camera down underneath you and then like lean over and see how you look on top. Of course, I did it because I wanted to see it. I was like, oh, you're sexy.
By the way, if you guys are wondering why I'm making all of these faces, is because she is literally calling out the every challenge that I'm like, ugh.
Well, no, not just you. You are not the only one. There are people who have literally stitched other people's videos and been like, I can't do this because like I won't. And then they'll do like a really quick second of it. And of course it looks extremely opposite of the person that they stitched. But I'm like, you're comparing apples to oranges. Like you are not that person. And it's okay. Like you don't have to look like they look. But it got me thinking about comfort and being able to, because you said something when we were having our conversation the other day, and you were just like, you're forgetting this has been progress, and you proceeded to like tell me all the steps you took. Okay. So like, I just want to delve into that. Like, how do we progress over the steps you took to get comfortable? Because some people look at me and they feel like, oh my God, you've been comfortable for so long. And I have been, but I have to remember there was a time that I was not. And it took some time for me to get there. So like, how do you feel about profiles? How do you feel about these challenges? And how do you feel about making the progress so that you can arrive at this ultimate place of comfort?
Yeah, so I have been on this journey of self-love, and it really, really is a journey. That's why I started doing self-love Sundays, to let people know and to let them realize that it's like something you have to do and practice all the time. And yeah, so Alicia did this video and you had to like turn to the side. And I was like, ugh, because we had just talked a few days ago or weeks ago about how I hate my side profile. Like I'm getting to love my face. Like I think I'm pretty. I think I'm cute and whatever. I just don't like how chunky my face is right now. I feel like it takes away from my features. And it's not to say that like, oh, because my face is bad, I'm less attractive. But like for me, some of the things that are my favorite features right now, because naturally of fat, are like hidden. Like you can't see my jawline or my shape. Like you kind of can, but like I also know what I look like when my face is a little smaller. Like my eyes open up on my face and it looks a little bigger. My lips look a little bit bigger because there's less cheek. I just personally like those things about my face, which happens when it's smaller. So when it's bigger, I'm like, ugh. Like not that I don't think I'm unattractive. I think I'm still, obviously, I think I'm still cute. I'm still all over Instagram and TikTok. So I think I'm still cute. I just think I'm cuter, smaller. And the side profile thing, like I've, for some reason, just never loved it. And I think, like you said, apples to oranges, it's because normally when you see a side profile, it's like this beautiful jawline and neck, and I've got none of that. So it's really just me trying to get on a journey of accepting and me liking it, because I think we've talked about it before when we talked about opinions and stuff like that. Like other people's opinions don't matter. Your opinion of yourself matters and how you feel about yourself. So it's trying to get me to love other angles of my face. Like even recently I've just, because you get used to doing selfie mode, like you said, like you're tilted up, you're looking cute, that's what you know, but that's not how people see you. So I've been trying to put the camera in front of my face or even lower sometimes more just to get used to it. And I am getting used to it better, which is good because before I'd be like, ugh. So it's like I was telling you in our conversation, it's a journey. I'm on a journey and it's coming along. It takes affirmations, it takes looking at myself and being okay with it. And one day you just got to keep doing it, and one day you get there. That's it's not scientific, but that's really just what happens.
I definitely agree. You kind of made a point that got popping in my head when you were saying how when you take selfies, you take pictures, in the best light that you see. And I'm like, if you ever want to know how somebody else sees you, let them take a picture of you because you'll see through their eyes how they view you, how they frame you. And it makes me think about when I was younger. So we didn't have these snazzy camera phones. We had, the Kodak disposable cameras, and I remember like we used to photograph everything. Like that's how we were. Like if you think these kids are
Yeah.
bad with their phones, I'm like, nah, because we were just as
Right.
bad. We just had we had to
You
dispose.
just had to wait for it to develop from
Right.
growing.
So we took pictures of everything, like wherever we went, movies, mall, hanging out, whatever. And I remember my brother has a photo album of like pictures of me like throughout my earlier teen years, like 14, 15, before I really came into myself. And I hate every picture. Back then I hated every picture. I hated every picture because I felt like the person who took this picture, they didn't like capture the cute part of me, because in my mind, there's cute parts of me, not like, oh, you are cute, but like I'm cute if I do this or and I definitely would try to do things to like slim myself out, or what I
Yeah.
felt was slimming myself out in a picture. Like that just means holding it in really hard and hoping you don't pass out from lack of oxygen
Right.
to the brain. And
Versus just
like,
make like 2 inch difference. Yeah.
I often tried to shrink into pictures, like stand in between like two of my taller guy friends, because my
Mm-hmm.
girlfriends, the ones that were my height, they were slender. The girls that were not my height were shorter, but they were like very shapely. And I just felt like bulky and in between. So I would kind of like try to like Tetris myself in between everybody so that
Yeah.
you saw a sliver of me. And when I really was thinking about like how long it took me, now it took some extreme measures for me. We won't talk about that. What got me to just being like, well, I did the whole fetish model thing. So at that point,
Yeah.
it was like, doesn't matter now. At this point, like you can photograph me any which way at this point, and I would just be like, eh.
Yeah.
But it really made me think about the work it took when you said that to like get to that place of comfort. And when you were talking about affirmations, I know this sounds corny, but when I was about 13, I just started like I had read this Judy Bloom book, and when they were like, we must increase our bust or
Mm-hmm.
whatever, they were like doing their mantra because they wanted to grow their boobs. Like I kind of picked up on that and just started telling myself in the mirror, like, you're beautiful, you're pretty. It was awkward at first. I did not believe it. I could barely look in the mirror, but
Yeah.
I did that for years. It probably took till I was about 16 before I really felt that way. So that was
Mm-hmm.
3 years of me just feeling like okay with my face,
Right.
not even the body part,
Right.
the body.
Yeah. And that's how I started getting okay with my face and then slowly moving to the body. And I still have like moments of like, ugh, and it's still not always comfortable for me, but you have to push through your comfort zone. Like you have to be okay being uncomfortable to get the end result of like anything you want in this life, honestly. And whether it's the physical uncomfortableness of doing certain things or the mental uncomfortableness of just like sitting and looking at yourself and telling yourself you're beautiful and you're pretty. Even if you don't see it, making a point of doing it day after day after day, and you start to really believe it. And you know what, I do look cute today, or I am pretty today. And then after a while, you just think that you are that.
So like what was your okay, so I guess it's like a trifold question, because I know you've been at varying sizes throughout your life. You've shown me pictures of you smaller, I've known you larger, excuse me, whatever. Were there stages for you at each stage to have to like learn to get comfortable in your body as it was because it changed, or whether it was from bigger to smaller or smaller to bigger? I know you had gone through a weight loss journey before, you lost like 70 pounds or something like that. Like was it a shift for you even then to be like, oh, now my body's changed or it looks different. Like I have to carry myself differently. I have to angle myself differently. Was there any discomfort there?
No, I loved getting smaller. Like things deflated, but I was loved getting into my cuter clothes again. So, and I loved like moving again. And that's really what I think about now as far as like getting smaller, is just like being able to move more with comfort and stuff. As far as getting comfortable in different, oh, you know what, that reminded me, because I was trying to think of what I had thought about for my Thursday thought this week, and I forgot, but now I remembered. It's okay, I'll tell you guys. So what I was thinking about, and I like that you asked the question about like, you know, like, did I get comfortable, or at what point did I get comfortable at each size? And the truth was I never did. Like, this is really the first time in my life, ironically, at the biggest I've ever been, that I've really actually been like, I love me, or I'm making a point of trying to love me. And the reason why is because for most of my life, I didn't think I was that cute. Like, even if I saw pictures, I'm like, oh, I'm pretty, but like, whatever. Like, I just didn't really believe it. But then what would happen is when I got in my 20s, I was looking at pictures of me in my teens being like, you were gorgeous. What was wrong with you? How did you not realize that? Now look at you, this much bigger. You wasted your time of beauty. Well, then I got to like my late 20s and I'm looking at pictures of my early 20s, like, you were beautiful. I can't believe you spent all that time wasting, not like taking advantage of the fact that you were gorgeous. Now look at you. So then I like hit my 30s. And again, I'm like looking at pictures, my mid 20s, like, oh, are you kidding me? And so at that point, I'm like, okay, pump the brakes. At every stage, yes, you are gaining weight, but at every stage, you are looking back and thinking of how you wasted those years of that beauty thinking you were unattractive. Now in hindsight, you're looking back thinking, I was so beautiful and I just wasn't taking advantage and acknowledging it. So A, you're acknowledging that somewhere in your mind, you do think you're beautiful because when you look back, you think you're beautiful. And then B, why are you wasting these years knowing, like, as much as you each time hope that you're not going to get bigger and blah, 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 you are. So acknowledge that no matter what happens with your body, whether you get hopefully not bigger, but you never know what happens, or whether you stick to it and get smaller, acknowledge that you need to love yourself as you are right now, because there's a chance, even if my size doesn't change, 5 years from now, I'll look 5 years older and look back at myself and be like, you were so beautiful 5 years ago. And like, why constantly look back and think, oh, I was beautiful, why didn't I take advantage of it? When I could focus on acknowledging that I am beautiful now, in this moment now, and live the truth of I am beautiful. So that's when I really started like doing my affirmations and really started working on like finding a way to love me, even as much as I don't love every part of me, all the roles, all the uncomfortableness, but it's still finding the beauty within me and the love for me. So that way I, 5 years from now, don't have another repeat of like, oh, the wasted years, you know? Because that's my big thing with like life in general, is just not having that regret, coulda, shoulda, woulda. And that's really where I live my life from with the things that I do. So I wanted to make sure I incorporated that into my beauty, how I feel about myself. Even though it sounds like vain and beautiful, but it really is like just my self-love.
Gotcha.
So that was a long answer to your question.
All good. I'm here for it. You really like honestly pretty much summed up how I feel. So being at the various stages of my life, like I said, like I did all these affirmations, but despite doing those affirmations and getting, you know, somewhere with how I felt about myself, growing some comfort, every time I kind of like mastered one area, something in my life shifted, or I was then struggling to transition to the next step. So like it took me to about 16, 17, right? To like really feel like, oh, I'm really cute. Like in the face, I feel pretty, whatever. And that year, like between 17 really is when I started to like invest in dressing differently, like more, like less hiding my body like I did, right? And then trying to get comfortable. And I still had like a strict, I'll keep my cardigan or my hoodie on over my arms because I don't want my arms are too big. Now look at them. But right. I like during that season, like when I had gotten absolutely comfortable, by the end of that summer, I was pregnant. So then it was, okay, hormonal changes come all of a sudden. Although I was always chunky, now I had belly. Like, there's a whole entire baby growing. And I remember my sister like took this picture of me standing in front of my mom's door. I had like these super long nails and like my hand was clutching my stomach. And it was like around the time my stomach like really had popped out. And I cried because I saw stretch marks. And I could not look at those pictures for years after giving birth. Like after I had her, I went back to like covering, like not caring about how I dressed. And part of that was postpartum depression, obviously, and trying to raise a baby. But I just I didn't feel like cute anymore. And my body had changed. I had to work through that. And by the time I had worked through like, oh, you have a mommy body now. By the time I had worked through that, I was on to like another stage in my life and things were changing again. And so I was never in that place where I was like super comfortable. Like you, I started looking back at things and then like my friends from high school like post pictures of me and I'll be like, that was a baddie. I was kind of look at me getting out here in these stilettos for 5 hours at a house party. Like, and I'm thinking to myself, like, oh my God. And even as I got older and when around the time, like I met my husband and we had gotten pregnant maybe like a year after or whatever, that was the first time I had broken like the 300 like mark. And that was like this depressing era of life because Lord knows I wouldn't know I was going to be 400 and some change in the future. But I was so depressed again. And I was like, oh, and I couldn't get comfortable with my body. Like I had my son and like my breasts were so huge, it didn't fit into anything. And I just went through those stages. Like it was a repetitive cycle. It was not until everything like fell apart when my hip went on me and then I started going through the health issues when I moved down here that I decided like, I do not want to spend however many years I've got to deal with this stuff, hating myself and not liking my body. And now I realized that I had gained weight. I just didn't know how much. And that was before like I stepped on a scale. Once I actually knew, it was like, I could cry about this, which I did.
Right.
Where you can like do it gracefully. Is that something going on?
Yes. Can we pause it for a second?
Sure.
Yeah. Hi.
But it took me like a really long time to like adjust. So by the time I got to like this really large size, I was like, I just don't want to cry about it the entire time. Like, I know I got work to do. I know I had to like compartmentalize it. It was like, first I need to handle the health stuff. Like I got to figure out what's wrong with me. And then I have to address this. And it was like these steps. And it's been about 4 or 5 years now. But throughout this whole entire time, I'm like, I'm determined to do what I need to do to feel fly, however that means to me. I don't tell other people how it should be for them, but that's why like getting dressed is important to me. Like how I style myself, what I wear, makeup, if I do or don't wear it, skincare, the whole 9 yards. So it's to the point that I was looking back, like one of my followers sent me a before and after picture of myself, right? And she's like, oh my God, like, what are you doing? And as I'm looking at the picture, I'm kind of not paying attention to the before and after. I'm just like, first of all, I didn't realize how big I really was. You know, I mean, I knew the number on the scale, but you know, when you're in it at the moment, you don't see it. Right. And I realized like, oh man, my face was like super chunkier back then. Like I had none of this going on. It was like, I was really bloated.
Yeah, your face has definitely gone down a lot too. And the time that I've known you, maybe that's also why I'm triggered.
Don't be triggered. And I'm just like,
I was going to ask, do you think it's like part of a defense mechanism? Because I know like for me, no matter what size I was, especially like as I grew, I definitely made sure that I looked cute because it was like, well, no matter what they have to say about my size, one thing they can't say is that I don't look cute, that I'm not dressed cute, that I'm, you know what I mean? So it was like a defense mechanism almost for me, or like a guard, like a level of guard up that
it was definitely like that for me. But at this point, like in the last few years, it was less about them and it was about me. Like I wanted to feel good. And I think what really helped was that my husband did not care one way or another. Like I could have dressed in a t-shirt and boxes the rest of my life and he would have been happy. And like, I didn't have to do the changes or make the changes I did, but it was really good for me. And so when I look back at those pictures, I don't look back and I'm not like, ooh, she's so fat. I'm like, sis was fly. Like, you know, it is what it is, even at that size. So when people talk about when I don't have any judgments about before and after pictures, but my issue with before and after pictures, I feel like people find the worst fat picture they can find, like when they're like laid out after eating a meal, or like they're at their worst, most depressed moment. And I'm like, you had no joyful moments, you had no pictures where you were cute. Like, I don't want to be that person. So like for sure, I want to look back and be like, yes, that outfit was cute, or that makeup was fun. It's like I'm more mad about my old brows than I am about my size, or ever will be. Like, no.
Did you I think I told you about the influencer who blocked me, right? I think I told you, but I can't remember if I talked about it on the show.
No.
I didn't. So there was an influencer, she does makeup, and I think she's beautiful. She always posts like, I mean, some people, Alicia doesn't really love her because she thinks she photoshops too much. But I don't know, I think she's beautiful. So anyways, so
she's pretty.
She started losing weight, and mind you, on her actual page, she only ever posts pictures of herself looking beautiful, full face of makeup, looking gorgeous, which is fine. That's her brand. I love it. But when she started losing weight, she would purposely post like the most well, this is why she hated me, because I said unflattering, but like that to me was the best word for it. And so I left a comment, and I really wasn't trying to be mean. I was like, hey, I think you're absolutely beautiful. Why do you purposely put unflattering pictures of yourself for the before picture? And and she'll put like a no makeup, in sweats, looking however, next to a picture of her looking gorgeous, done up, blah blah blah, after having lost weight. And I'm like, you have a ton of pictures of you gorgeous, done up at your before size, because you were still doing, I didn't say this part, but you know what I mean? Like, she was still doing the influencer thing when she was that size, and she's doing it now. So why would you not put like a beautiful picture of you then with a beautiful picture of you now? Like, why would you purposely post? And she got mad at me. She's like, oh, like she responded, she's like, oh, you think that it's unflattering? It's so hard for me to post these pictures anyways, and just to have people tell me that it's unflattering, you're going to be blocked. And I really wasn't trying to be mean. I went in her DMs and I was like, listen, I wasn't trying to be mean. I think you're gorgeous. I even said on the post, you're gorgeous. But don't get mad at me for saying you posting an unflattering picture when you know full well when you were that size, you would have never posted that picture on your page. If you would have never posted that picture on your page at that size, but you post a ton of other pictures, then don't use that picture as your before picture now to show your weight loss. Or if you're going to do it, don't be surprised when people say something. And I was being polite. Anyways,
well, yeah, I'm not going to say her name on this show, but if you ever want to go scan my blog at apyoungblog.com and just in the search bar put the Great Photoshop Debate.
Oh, yeah.
The Great Photoshop Debate. Again, the Great Photoshop Debate. There is that woman in that article, if you ever want to check it out and see what she's talking about. But yeah, I think that's frustrating to see. And I cannot tell anybody how they should feel at their larger size. I know that's a personal thing. So maybe you did feel that way and it presents in your pictures. But for me, I feel like as much as I was unhappy, it was less about the weight and more to do with what was going on with my body at the time. So once I started to feel relief from like my ailments, like I just started to feel better. And the more I felt better, the more I could put effort in myself. And that doesn't mean that I didn't have a lot of flare-up days.
Yeah.
I had to learn how to eat for my condition, all sorts of stuff. But through, even on my spoony days, like I didn't forget to self-care. I didn't forget to speak kind words into my body and show it a lot of grace. And I think that's what made it easier. So when I look back at those pictures, if I ever have a sad moment about it, it's because I know like this day I was like holding all the pain in, and I was like, TCF 2018, like as much as I appreciate that it was like a huge moment for my public speaking career, at the same time, I have a lot of ill memories attached to it because of the pain. It was, when I look at the pictures, I definitely think I look pretty. I think I look fly, but I remember what I felt like when I was flaring on that. So when I see people post those pictures, I'm just like, it's like you're trying to feed into the stereotype that you can't feel beautiful large. And I don't like that. You don't have to love being large.
Right.
I believe that is everybody's right to feel how they feel about their body, whatever stage it's in. But you're not ugly because of your size.
And
You
even
might be
like the whole
ugly, but it's not gonna be because you fat.
right. Well, and even like the whole unflattering before picture, like there are people who, because of their size, don't take a lot of pictures or aren't looking cute or whatever, and they might post a before and after picture where like they look, you know, before and now. And that's fine. I would never go to someone and be like, oh, your before picture is unflattering. My issue is when you at that size have an entire Instagram page,
right,
pictures of you looking beautiful, and you purposely
and
choose
you're purposely, because
would
it's,
have
and to
never
me
posted
that's
at
like
that
comparing
size.
apples and
That's
oranges.
right. That's my issue with it.
Not because of size either, but because you're gonna
No.
find your most decked out, you know, flawless look
Yeah,
and
or
put it up
even all
against
natural.
your,
Everybody is beautiful in their own way.
yeah. But it's not the same. If I were to roll out of bed and then put a picture next to myself all glammed up, like, you're gonna be like, sis,
Yeah.
calm down with the cap.
Right.
Old girl, to me personally, I feel like she's full of cap anyway.
Yeah, I know you do.
Saw her in person, and you know, attitude was on Hollywood.
I mean, the unfortunate part about her, and I don't want this to go into a
yeah
thing where it seems like we're bashing anyone, is like I do really think she's so beautiful. And I remember like seeing her page, I remember like, oh, she's really beautiful. But then I saw her on a live and I was like, she is actually like beautiful. And the reason why I was like shocked to that level was because like you can tell her pictures on her page are very photoshopped.
But that was
like
my point.
when I saw her for real, I'm like, wait, you're actually so beautiful. You don't need that. Like, it's actually shocking that you even bother with that because you're so beautiful.
And that was my thing. Like in the article, it wasn't a personal attack against her. I did comment on her response to when people were calling her out about it. I did comment to that, but I thought she was gorgeous. And I saw her unphotoshopped picture that was up against the Photoshop one. It was the Getty image or something. And so there were like little nuances, like her ankles were ashy. And like her under, there was like a lot of flashback, which can happen under freaking paparazzi lights, right? With makeup on. I don't care how flawless that finish is. Sometimes flashback is going to happen.
Right.
So it wasn't like, and I guess, you know, as a makeup artist, you don't want it to be your unflattering shot is your makeup.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I get that. And then, so I'm like, clean up with makeup, totally fine, right? Like there's nothing wrong with that. I don't do it because I want people to see like the real deal, raw version of what they're getting at the end. And it also makes me feel better, like knowing like I can have a real time chain of like, oh, this is how you've progressed. So, but I do know a lot of beauty influencers do the photo tuning or whatever, but then it was like she shaved her body down, gave it more shape, made it slimmer and all those things. And I'm like, but people saw you in real life.
Yeah.
Is that not,
so maybe I was wrong. Maybe she didn't have pictures of herself from her page at that size if she was shaving her figure. Maybe that's why.
Right. Well, if the videos don't lie. So like I actually went to her YouTube when she was like chubbier or whatever. Still was gorgeous. I promise you. Still was gorgeous. Yeah. Like, and to me, and I know everybody has their own feelings about how big they are or how not big they are, but she wasn't like a big John to me. Like I didn't look at her and be like, "Hey, Bertha, come join me." Like on my team. Like
also she went, because we're extended sizes.
Right. I think everybody looks small to me.
Small. Yeah. Like the size. Because I remember like I'll see people like complaining about their weight now. I'm like, you're maybe 20 pounds over. He's like, please. Right. But I remember when I was that size, I was like, oh my goodness, you know.
Exactly. So I didn't even knock that. But so when I saw how much photoshopping she had done, and the other issue was that she had she, as many influencers do when they get on the weight loss journey, sometimes they will partner with brands, and it was like a Tummy Time Tea, one of those things. And basically she was talking about all the weight she lost on it, but people were calling out like it's not weight loss if you are photoshopping it.
Yeah.
So that's where I like delved into that article. Like, is there this pressure? Do you feel like there's this pressure as being on social media, whether you're in influencer space or not, to like have your most manicured, you know, like version of yourself? And I'm just like, I wonder if that pressure is subliminal at this point. We don't even realize that it's happening. So we care about I have seen more reels and TikToks from the plus community, from influencers, teaching us how to pose when you are plus size. And I'm just like,
right.
What? Like, and it's like, do this, extend, elongate. And I'm like, but I don't have long, slender neck. So
Right. Yeah. I just look
this.
real weird.
Like, I just look like why can't I just stand, and snap a photo like Slender Becky would or whomever? And the fact that it's coming from within the plus community sometimes is disappointing, because it's like, this is why plus, body positive, fat acceptance, all those things are not one and the same, because you can be plus size and be in the plus community and decide that photograph.
There are a lot of
slender is
positive
better
people who are not body positive. Like there are a lot of
and
like
okay.
low plus size, but do everything they can to look as slim as possible and
Right.
be as slim as possible, and like get people to accept their chunky body while they clearly cannot accept it. And like I said earlier,
I could dig it if you weren't trying to preach to me about those things, but I would appreciate it more if you just told me I'm uncomfortable in my body and I'm struggling and I'm learning, because I can relate to that.
Exactly.
Like, I don't need you to be my body positive guru. Like, I'm good. I'm not looking.
Yeah, I don't want you to say like, oh, love yourself, plus size, and then proceed to tell me how to look as slim as possible and how to do blah blah. Like,
but I'd rather the expectation is that we all feel that way, because I can't even tell you, it's like a running joke between me and my girlfriend about the shapewear question that comes to my page almost anytime I wear something form-fitting. The first thing in the comments or in my DMs, some people are just like, I don't want to be rude on your comments, but what kind of shapewear are you wearing? It looks great, And I'm like, when I tell them I don't wear shapewear, and I have explained why I don't like shapewear and why I don't wear it, with weight loss, I've actually been considering it, because things are
actually I was just about to ask you, because that is the one thing, like and like from when I lost like the 70 pounds, is that things, because when you're expanding, for the most part,
your skin is taut,
you're still like, you're like stuffed sausage, like things are still firm, bigger but firm. But when you start losing, and that's why my arms are as awful as I am now, like it deflates, and
that's the thing,
like you almost need the shapewear just to be comfortable, not because you don't like your size, but because
I'm not
deplete.
So I don't like it. And I thought about it. I was having a conversation with my girlfriend. She's a brand ambassador for FBF body shapers and underwear, shapewear and all that stuff. And so she was giving me like the science on shapewear, because I really don't get it. Like, if I have to be uncomfortable to look a certain way in a dress, like, I'm just not going to buy the dress. Right. Or I'm going to buy the dress in my size so I don't have to squeeze into it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, well, it's because we're so conditioned to like, don't show belly and don't show that. Like,
I will say that
it
took me forever to get comfortable with my visible belly line. Like, that's only happened literally within the last year and a half. Right. But I will say this, like, when I have those conversations with women, I'm like, I'm not into shapewear, and I explain why, they think I'm lying. They will. Right. So one girl was like, if you don't want to tell me, just say that. I was not. And she was like, 'cause I saw a picture of it. I said, I did a blog article on the 2 pieces of shapewear I bought and tried and didn't like. And I shared it because I knew that there was going to be somebody who wanted to wear shapewear. But I'm like, if you read the article, you would know I said my final decision was I didn't like it. Yeah. And I told one woman, like, she was like, oh, I love that dress on you, but I could never. And I'm like, but you could, if you could wrap your mind around doing it. I'm like,
but it really does take a lot to get there.
It does. And that's what I was telling her. It was not overnight. I'm like, but I was also the one who, I just won't put it on if I don't feel like it looks good on me. I don't understand this pressure, I guess, for everybody to feel like they are a slender fat or a thick fat or an appropriate, like you have to.
But it's not even just that, because you see it on the slender side of things too. Like, there are people who have amazing bodies who are just like, have a little bit of belly or a little bit of extra fat, and that thing that we're drilled into our heads about having like perfect body or having smooth lines and everything be like right and tight, that you have like people who are even smaller who should be just living their happy tiny bit of jiggle life are sucking it in with shapewear to get into like the next size smaller, because that's just how we're conditioned. And until you really make the effort to not be that way.
I think that's what I do appreciate about having been able to be at my largest.
Yeah.
because
definitely.
I think you learn differently. I don't know if that makes sense, but like you have to. So now the awkward thing I'm in right now is that I got so used to and so comfortable being my confident self at 500 pounds that now that I've dropped some weight and I see things shifting, because like you said, the sagging things, I'm not to the point where I want shapewear yet, but I did really consider it the other day. Like I had a whole moment just staring in the bathroom, like, like I had a belly button before, and now it's like hiding underneath the things are beginning to sag around it.
Yeah.
I'm having that moment where I am no longer as 100% confident as I was 50 pounds. You know what I mean? And
but I mean, at least you're open and honest with that, because that is a part of it. People, and that's why people need to be honest about their weight loss journeys. It's not all rainbows and butterflies. And yeah, it's great, but A, it's still hard sometimes. And then B, there's parts of it, like you said, where you're going to start not liking your body because of the weight loss. And how do you get through that mentally when the thing that you want is happening, but it's also making you really upset and sad?
Yep. And that's really, I was already conflicted about weight loss anyway. And that's been my entire life. Like this is like my third attempt at weight loss surgery. That's how uncommitted I've been. This is the farthest I've ever gone, because there is still something about it that bothers me. I cannot put my finger on it. It does not matter how many times I've been told I needed it, how it was going to save my life, how it was going to add years onto my life. You see how long it took me? The first time I tried was in 2010. It's 2021. Like that's how much I struggle with that whole concept of weight loss surgery. So as much as it may be what people want, or some people desire, or maybe some people have a disdain for it, it's not some decision I just made off the top of my head and took it very lightly. Like it's still something that I don't know that I'm 100% going to go through with it. You know what I mean? And I'm like, there's so many nuances to weight loss and body positivity and body confidence and things like that. And I wish people could be more honest about that stuff. Like,
well, yeah. And you know what? I did also want to mention that you talked, oh wait, and then it just came to me, and then I just lost the thought. Oh, about being larger and it changing the way you think. It's definitely one of those things, especially because what I think and what I try to do a lot is to let people know that they're not, alone or the only ones going through that stuff. But like, there's definitely a side of me that knows that had I grown up where I grew up, and had I been in a more conventional body or more conventionally beautiful, like there's nothing that probably would have pushed me to have my level of self-love and level of self-confidence. Like I would still have a little bit, but I think I would be like a lot of people are, where theirs comes from how they compare to other people. Like if I'm cute compared to other people, or if I'm this or if I'm that. And I probably wouldn't have the level of compassion as well for, people that are so much bigger, especially me. And it's part of why I have had an issue with the thought of weight loss surgery, because I am so, for the most part, mentally strong that like when I decide I'm going to do something, I'm going to do something. I think I was even talking to you the other day, like I've literally reinvented myself and created a whole new career for myself within the past like 4 years. And my weight is really like the one area where it's like, why can't I just, stick to it? But having that one area allows me compassion when I talk to people in other areas of their life that can't stick to stuff. Because otherwise I'd be like, just make up your mind to do it and do it. And you see people who don't have that compassion, and I kind of get where they're coming from, because the way I can do that with every other aspect of my life, I have trouble doing it with my weight loss aspect, but I can put that thinking into other aspects.
Absolutely. You can apply it.
And like you have no choice but at some point to either let yourself be miserable about your size, or to find a way to love yourself no matter what, and then go from there.
And I think that's what I really wish more people understood about loving oneself and what that means. Everybody thinks it means you have to like every aspect of your body. You do not. And that's larger or smaller. Like I would be lying if I said every moment of my life was like, oh, I feel so good about myself. Like, no, there's been a lot of lows. There's been a lot of negative places, but I do feel like getting older has definitely put a kibosh on like me really caring about other people's opinions. So at this point, it's all on me.
Yeah.
I care about my husband's opinion, but when it comes to other people's, I'm just like, man, the stories these bones could tell you, I don't even have time to argue with you. Like about what your thoughts are.
People's opinion is a whole nother conversation, and maybe a topic we should pick up another day, because people really let the opinions of other people rule their lives. And half of the time, those people don't have their stuff together, and you're busy worrying about like how you're doing compared to them. There's a quote that I like, which is, the grass isn't greener on the other side, it's green where you water it. Yep. But I also say, like with social media, sometimes the grass is green on the other side because it's fake grass. There's a lot of fake turf out there that people are wondering why their grass isn't growing green, but the other person's grass is fake as hell. So you can't compare. But like I said, we'll talk about that.
So on that note, y'all, we gonna wrap it up here because she was preaching, and we gonna get on out of here before she brings the house down. But that should be, I think, next week's topic that we get into. That I think that would be really dope to talk about. So of course, I'm gonna tell you guys like usual, make sure you are following the Instagram page down below where we will post our weekly Spill It question, although we might have slacked a couple of times. We're getting better. We've been doing good. We might be like a little late posting it, so we're gonna try a little harder. But of course, sound down below, let us know what your thoughts are. How do you feel about angles, body comfort, body positivity, self-love? We want to hear it all. And you guys, if YouTube is not your thing, because you can't watch it while you work, don't worry. We are now on a podcast.
Yes, we are. You can listen to our beautiful voices all day.
Oh, we got like 10 episodes stacked already. Like, we doing good. Yeah. So you guys, you can find us at More Than My Size, the show, right on Spotify, Apple, Anchor, and anywhere basically where there is streaming, you can find us. So support that, whether here or there, and we will talk to you guys next time.
Bye, guys.